The third talk for the day is by Vidya Venkatesh, and the talk is titled Living with Leopards. Let me introduce Vidya to you. Vidya's life has been an interesting mix of corporate leadership, outdoor facilitation, and exploring India's wildlife. The common factors in all of them are connecting people and interest in conservation and adventure. She's widely traveled in India to the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, and the Northeast in search of flora and fauna. She currently works for an NGO called Last Wilderness Foundation, and she volunteers at Sanjay Gandhi National Park in Mumbai during the weekends. She is a part of the initiative called Mumbaikars for Sanjay Gandhi National Park. She in fact is a coordinator there, which focuses on reducing the man-leopard conflict in Mumbai through a project called Living with Leopards. How many of you here know that there is a national park in Mumbai? Okay, Vidya, that makes it simpler for you. Thank you so much. Over to Vidya. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you, guys. That was my first question. Thanks, Gino, for asking that. And I'm glad to know that a lot of hands went up there. Because a lot of time when I talk to my relatives or our friends from the corporate world, I used to work with corporate early, about 4-5 years back. I used to be still with corporate. And they were like, what are you doing in the jungle? Which jungle is there in Bombay? Are you crazy? What are you doing here? So without wasting much time, I'm just going to tell you about this initiative called Mumbaikars for SGNP and the project called Living with Leopards. So as Reshma before me, the speaker before me was mentioning about some imaginary leopards, we do have some real life leopards in Mumbai. So I'm assuming a lot of you would have read newspapers, would have probably seen some news channels and known that there are leopards in India. Just a statement, a common one which we make, saying there are no cheetahs in India. There are leopards, there are tigers, there are lions. Those are the big cats that you can find in India. There are no cheetahs in India. So just so that from tomorrow nobody says I saw cheetah here, right? Okay, so Living with Leopards was a project to address the human-leopard conflict in and around Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Okay, that's Sanjay Gandhi National Park, where you see a lot of, this is the park, and here there's a small patch near Goregaon East, which is RML Colony. So most of you, I'm assuming, are Mumbaiites, would know about this patch. Species diversity, you have a huge species diversity in Sanjay Gandhi National Park itself, SGNP. You have some 280 species of birds, 170 species of butterflies, plants, some 1500, and so on and so forth. So it is a very rich park that we have in Mumbai, and it's one of the only four parks in the world which is within a city, a metro city. So we should be really proud of this park that we have here. Lakes, rivers and streams. So if you have a chance to visit the park this season, it'll be nice and green after monsoon. The national park is considered as the breathing lungs of the ever so polluted Mumbai. Temperature inside the park is about 3 to 5 degrees cooler than outside. So if you pass through the highway, even crossing the RML colony, you'll suddenly find there's a dip in temperature, thanks to the park that we have in Bombay. So I'm going to rush through this. I think most of you students would know about how important the park is because of air pollution and noise pollution. It absorbs a lot of carbon dioxide that Bombay generates with the number of cars that we have here. Also because of the development in the city, park is a huge, huge boon for us. But yes, forests also mean that there have been creatures here before humans, and the largest predator that we have in Bombay is a leopard. So this is a photograph taken by a friend of ours from RML colony, and the leopard was nicely sleeping on the top of a tree. Yeah, that's how peaceful it can be. Leopards in Mumbai. There are leopards in Mumbai. The project that we did with the forest department, the first phase had a study which was done with the help of camera traps. We did camera trapping, which means you place cameras on locations where you think there are leopard movements, and you click the leopards and identify them through the spots that you see. You see the spots, so you take a range of these spots to identify each leopard. Yeah, so there is a square patch that you take and you compare them with another photograph to identify if they are the same series or sequence of spots or not. That's how you identify a leopard. Leopards have been seen pretty often these days, and they're good to be around. I'll talk to you about it. Leopard biology, they're highly territorial animals. By territorial, we mean that they mark their territory with scent marks, and they're very protective about it. They do not allow another animal of the same species to get into that territory. So they can actually fight back. These are pretty much the same with most cats. So they're highly territorial. They have strong family ties with the mother, and I'm putting this point here because in Bombay we've seen a lot of problem that comes because if there is a mother who's having cubs, right, a leopard female who has cubs, the issue is if you take the mother away, and why will we take the mother away, we will get to it, but sometimes yes, forest department needs to do that, take the mother away, the cubs are left alone and they're lost. And it's true with most animals and with human beings as well. So if mother is not there to train the cubs, then a lot of their training or so-called instincts do not fall in place. So they do not know that they're not supposed to step into human territory. They do not know that this is not their food prey. They do not know that, you know, they're supposed to hide behind trees when you see somebody. So these are instincts or training that I can call them, which fall off or they die out if the mother and cub is separated. Homing instincts, if translocated, they can come back about 400 kilometers too. So there have been studies which have proved that leopards or cats, for that matter, even our domestic cats, right? So if they are left outside of their territory somewhere else, they can smell and they can come back to their territory. So that's called an homing instinct. If you remove some, others can come and occupy the vacant territory, which means if there is a leopard next to your house and if you insist that the leopard needs to be taken away because you're scared or whatever, that does not mean that after a few weeks, months or a certain period of time, another one will not come there, right? So if there have been again studies on mountain leopards or mountain lions, which have proved that if you take away one from their territory, there could be 4 others which will approach and try and come into that territory because it's still a viable area. There could be prey base, there could be water, there could be hiding areas. So if that area is still viable, and if you remove one individual, there could be 4 or 5 or I don't know, as many individuals who can come and fight and live in that area, right? There is a story of Azoba. I don't know if any of you saw the movie called Azoba. Azoba was a leopard which was studied. It was probably the first time that a leopard was radio collared and its movement was tracked. And Azoba was caught somewhere in Bombay, caught in the sense it was captured. It was left in Malshes Ghat. And for the first time in Maharashtra, leopard treks 120 kilometers and that was tracked. So if you see this whole route from Malshes Ghat, it is crossed Kasara railway station, Tansa Wildlife Sanctuary, Wada, Tungareshwar Wildlife Sanctuary, and here is National Park. So it crossed all of this, it crossed a river here, right? And it came all the way towards National Park. It was actually, the end was a little sad. It tried crossing the Ghodbandar road after it reached Bombay. And while it was crossing, it met with a road accident. Yeah. So, yeah, that is very, very unfortunate that this leopard which was tracked. And there's a movie which is in Marathi called Azoba. Urmila Matondkar has acted in the movie. Right. So quickly coming back to the leopards of Bombay. Leopards are highly adaptable as well, right? By saying adaptable with the changes that's happening in Bombay from, you know, having so much of green area to more of a concrete jungle that we have right now. Leopards have been there all through. It's not like they've left the city. We know tigers went extinct from Bombay, but leopards have not gone extinct because leopards are highly adaptive. And by saying adaptive, they have also adapted their prey base. So since we know that leopard is a wild animal, we think it's supposed to have a wild prey. However, in Bombay, the wild prey, apart from deers and you know, the wild boars that you can have in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, they have also started eating dogs and started, I'm not saying like one fine day they started eating. I think it's evolution that has happened and they've started eating dogs because that's available in plenty in Bombay. We all know that. So we had a study done in RML colony and the dog survey in RML colony. So RML colony is just about 12 square kilometers. We all know RML colony? Yeah. So RML colony is about 12 to 14 square kilometers only, which is pretty small an area. And the dog survey that we did out there, yeah, leopard needs about 1 dog per week. So which means about 50 dogs in a year is what it can consume. Estimated dog population in RML colony alone is about 600. Okay, that's an estimate that we're talking about in a 12 to 14 square kilometer area. We're not even talking about the entire city. We're talking about a very small patch. So looking at the conservative number, RA currently has a potential without even replication. Okay, we're talking plainly as a standard static data saying up to 12 leopards can survive for a whole year with the 600 dogs that are there. In the camera tapping that we did, we've identified at least about 22 individuals that are living in and around the park, not necessarily in the park. Since they're highly adaptive, they also move around the surroundings of the park, since they can come back and hide, pick up a dog from outside the park, go around the slum areas which are there, pick up a dog, come back and eat. So they are very happy to be around the park, outside the park as well. Some of them have also been known to be living outside itself, as in they've made their territories outside the park also, because they have enough food, water, place to hide, etc. Apart from this, there are a huge number of pigs and cats too, which have not been counted. So, you know, all of these small animals account for their prey base. So this, I'm just going to play a small video. I don't know how many of you have seen this. Can you play it from there? No? Just escape and see if you can play it quickly. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We'll just go to the next. Just skip 2 slides. So if you go and Google on YouTube for leopard picking up dog, you'll find a couple of these videos from Bombay. This is another parking area in Thana where the, this is in Goregaon East, where the leopard enters from the parking area, goes to the dog, but the dog chases the leopard away. Okay, so you can also Google for dog chasing away a leopard. So these are available on YouTube as well. So after we did the study of trying to count the number of leopards, we also studied on their prey base, did some analysis of their scats, the droppings, we call them scats. So did a scat analysis, and we figured out what their prey base was. And all of these, you know, the work that was done was all students like you all who participated, people who are free over weekends, all professionals who are free to create a website, do some social media work and things like that. So there was a lot of public participation that got this project through. Scientific studies with the help of Vidya, Dr. Vidya Atreya, who is based in Pune. She was the scientist on this project. So she helped us to figure out how to put up camera traps. There's a student who is putting up camera traps. This is how you put a camera trap at a level which is parallel to the abdomen of the leopard. Right? These are scats which have been picked up and they have been analyzed. They've been put in packets and they'll be analyzed in the lab. Forest Department training was conducted so that they know in case of an emergency how they need to deal with situations. Tranquilization, how it needs to be done, what's safe for the animal, what dosage of medicine is safe for the animal to be tranquilized, and so on. A lot of media workshops were conducted. Now, I don't know if there are any media people here, but our experience with the media workshops have been very, very interesting. So when there is a leopard sighting that happens in the city, a lot of times the leopard doesn't even do anything, right? A lot of times it's just seen crossing, and there's a huge panic and hue and cry about, oh, I saw a leopard, oh, I saw a wildcat, and so on. But these media workshops, we figured out that media has their own role to play, and they try and collect information, and if they have lack of information, they try and create their own, right, with whatever points they have. So the fact was we had to engage with the media to give them the facts and figures of this entire study so that they could put 2 plus 2 together whenever there is an incident that happens. So by incident, I'm saying if there is a leopard which is seen somewhere, if there is a incident where the leopard goes into a building, and this has happened a lot in on the western side and on Thana side, Goregaon East, Borivali near the park, Thane Ghodbandar Road, Thane close to the park area, you do have these one-off incidences where the leopard is seen around the residential colonies. Role of police. So we went through the police stations as well surrounding the park, and we trained them on, in case there's an emergency, where the leopard is seen, leopard enters a home, leopard enters a school, and all of these have happened. So we had to take these examples and train them, saying in case of an emergency, when people call on the number 100, which is usually the emergency number that people call on, what are they supposed to do, right? Because they are not equipped to handle an animal. They are not trained to handle an animal. However, there's a huge role, big role that the police plays by trying to control the mob. Whenever there's an incident, the biggest problem that people have or the forest department has is to go and control the mob, because the animal is scared and is trying to hide from human beings and has gotten into a building or gotten into a school. But because there are people outside, it can't even come out, right? So the best thing that the police can do is go and manage the crowd and keep them away from the animal, right? The forest department, there is a rescue team at Sanjay Gandhi National Park. There's a rescue team who's trained, who's the largest team, who can come and tranquilize the leopard if need be, or allow the leopard to run away in the direction that it needs to, right? So they are equipped to handle a situation with the animal, where the police is equipped enough to handle a situation with people, right? So these are two big stakeholders who can help in case of a emergency, if there's an emergency in the city that happens, right? Again, so the part of the project was to train police also. Interaction with locals and schools. So there are schools which which were shut for a few days because they saw a leopard coming around the school, right? And it's a valid fear that parents have, saying if my kid is going to the school and there's a leopard seen opposite the school, then my kid is in danger, right? The life is in danger. So they stopped sending kids to school. So we had to actually address the kids more than the parents, because kids were smart enough to understand what the story was and how they can deal with the situation and how they don't need to be panicking about the entire thing. So we had to address school kids, saying if there are some slum schools, like for example, here there's a municipal school in Bhandup, okay, where there was a leopard around the school. So we had to tell the slum kids, saying that do not go out in the dark and sit alone, for whatever the morning course or evening, because they don't have enough sanitation facilities available. They go out in the dark. So if they go out in the dark alone, there is a danger, there is a risk. So there were simple solutions, saying if there's somebody walking in the dark and if there's an area where the leopard is likely to be sighted, play your mobile phone songs, right? So the leopard knows it's a human being, and you know that you're at least walking through an area where the leopards are likely to be seen. So playing mobile phones, trying to keep a torch with you, do not throw stones. These are simple things which we had to tell these students, saying try to avoid any conflict. Yeah, so that was the whole project, why we called it Living with Leopards. A leopard just not doing anything but still ends up attracting attention. This is where I was talking about the role of media. Attacks are extremely rare. So all the incidences that have happened in Bombay, very few of them have actually been attacks. Most of them have actually been sightings, just mere sightings of leopards around their area. These are padas in RML colony. These are residential buildings on the Goregaon or rather JVLR road. These are all residential colonies which have seen, and you can see the number of residents who come there to listen to this kind of conversation with the forest department being there. There are forest department officials. So a lot of panic gets created because there's a news somewhere that comes. And I don't know, of late also somebody has sent out a video saying lion on Ghodbandha road. Yeah? Okay, it's not of Ghodbandha road. Okay, there are no lions in Bombay. And there are only lions in Gir, or rather in Gujarat. There are no lions in Bombay or Maharashtra. Two, that road is also not Ghodbandha road. So, but these messages, these WhatsApp messages or videos that are being forwarded creates panic amongst people. So the best thing to do is to try and first find out facts before trying to forward these messages. My request to the crowd here is try and understand, Google and check if this is a fact before you forward any of these videos which can create a panic amongst people. Right? A lot of people went into panic saying, oh my God, Ghodbandha road has lions now. There are no lions. Sanjay Gandhi National Park has 4 in captivity. And they could actually count on that day, saying how many are there. They're all there inside. How do you get a lion from Gujarat to come to Bombay and walk on a Ghodbandha road? Right? So, yeah, there are funny situations that we come across. Now, yeah, so role of media, I was talking about them. We all play a role in adding on to the information which is given by either trying to buy sensational information or trying to be more constructive about the information which is given, right? So here is something that you see where they want to sensationalize a sighting that has happened, a mere leopard sighting which happened, and say ghuskhori. Okay, that's TV9. Adamkhor Tendue ki dehshat. Okay, there was just leopard which was walking, just walked, somebody saw it. That's all that has happened. That's a fact. Leopard on the loose keeps scared Meerut residents indoors. Okay, there was a leopard which entered a building, but because there was a panic amongst people, the entire police force, I think they had to call commandos or something, army people or something, to get the leopard away, and they actually forced the leopard to get so aggressive, because leopard is an animal, or any animal which when you attack gets aggressive, right, in defense. All of these animals can get aggressive in defense. So it got aggressive, it broke open some wall and it ran away, and nobody knows where it went after that. But there was so much panic that happened that whole week in Meerut that the whole city was shut down, nobody came out, and blah blah blah. And the news, if you listen to the news, and you must listen, Google it, YouTube it, and they say, kahan se aaya pata nahi, kahan chala gaya pata nahi. Nobody knows anything. But it was on for such a long time, and it was creating a panic because of a lot of media news that happened, especially the TV media. Yeah. Yeah, this is the situation where I was saying it broke open. There were personnel officers who were trying to hit it and so-called save people from the leopard. Yeah. Constructive news now, after having worked with media in Bombay, a lot of print newspapers have supported the project, and if you see, there's a lot of change that has come across in these news articles. So this is the same one where I was trying to show you the video saying leopard goes for kill in Mulund lobby. So here is an incident where the leopard walks into the lobby where the CCTV is put up at the lift area. There's a dog sleeping there. It just comes quietly, picks up the dog. That's when the dog realizes that it's been killed and just walks away. That's all, right? Here's what you do if you spot a leopard. So these are things which Bombay print news media has come out after this project has worked with them very closely, and there you will definitely see a change in the way the media has started reporting these news, right? So this is more constructive than trying to make it ghuskhori or whatever. So these are just news articles which I put up to show saying there's a change when you engage with media, there's a change when you engage with people and try and bring out facts. And as citizens and as Mumbaikars, we need to be more constructive. We need to ask for more constructive news, because all of these news articles are online on the e-newspapers. And we've all made it a point, the volunteers who are associated with the project and a lot of residents now also understand. We started commenting on their e-news articles, saying this is not how you do reporting. This is not the fact. This is incorrect. DNA newspaper reported that lion article, by the way, the lion video. DNA newspaper reported it saying there was a lion on the Ghodbunder Road without checking any facts. Absolutely no facts checked, right? So we need to be asking for constructive news. We need to be not buying sensational news. Even if there's sensational news, we need to go back and give them a feedback saying we do not want to know, adjectives to the entire sighting. If there's a sighting, leopard passed by, that's all that we need to know, right? Do not try and sensationalize the entire situation. Chaos as leopard stays into school. Leopard had gone into a Mulund school and there was some chaos there. Yeah. Now this is a slide where I really wanted you all to understand what we can do as citizens. Ask questions to distinguish between sensational news and informative news. So this is exactly where we can play a role. Do not buy sensational news. Try and understand and investigate whether it's a sensational news or a informative news. You can actually distinguish that. Ensure garbage is not there in your vicinity. Now there is a whole cycle why these leopards are thriving so well in Bombay, because there is enough and more garbage that is lying around the city. Yeah, and because of this garbage dump that we have, there are dogs which thrive on that. So apart from the fact that we start feeding stray dogs as well, but without us feeding also, there are enough garbage dumps around the city where the dogs can eat and survive and multiply. Because of these stray dogs, there are free roaming dogs in the vicinity. Leopards have enough prey that they can have. Yeah, so that's the whole cycle that we need to know. If you want to keep away from leopards, if you want your area to be free of any of these predators, then you need to keep your area clean. that area needs to be clean of garbage, that area needs to be clean of stray dogs, so that you do not provide food for the predator. If you do not provide food for the predator, then the predator does not have any interest in coming to your area, right? Do not put pressure to trap leopards, and this is an important point because all of us play a role in trying to put pressure on the forest department, which is a very natural instinct saying, if you see a leopard, come and take it away. But like I was saying, there is a very strong tie between cubs and mothers, between leopards in their own area. So when you take away a leopard, apart from the fact that there are others who can come in, what also happens is when the new leopard comes in, if there's a new individual who actually takes over the area, it will start first exploring the area, trying to find where can I go and find a dog, where can I go and find water. So it will try and get into areas which the previous leopard never got into, because that one knew the area very well. They're very smart cats. So the previous one actually knew the area, where it should go, where it should not go, what it should eat, what it should not eat. But because that one was taken away and the new one managed to take over the area, there will be a lot of, or there could be a lot of conflict, because it will probably get into slums, and the people who gather around the animal, then it'll get into somebody's house. And because it's into somebody's house, they will call the forest department, and there's some political pressure that's put saying this is a vote bank, and this particular slum area, the leopard has to be removed and tranquilized and taken away. Right? There's a whole cycle that happens, and then again you take that leopard away, after a few months there's another one coming there. So it's really not a solution is what it is, right? So we need to remove the prey base which is available. The predator will automatically go away from that area. Take care of little kids in the dark hours. Fortunately, I don't think any of us need to follow this, because most of us are living in a city area. Do not gather around the area or pelt stones where the leopard is spotted or being rescued, as it might attack in self-defense. So if there is a leopard sighting ever in the city, try not to go there and click with your camera phone. Try not to go there and try and throw stones there. All of us have SLRs, all of us have camera phones, all of us have all these gadgets that you can go and click. But if we go close as much as possible, if you go to the closer to the animal, then it's going to get panicked. It is going to be pressurized. And in its self-defense, it might attack. And if it jumps on a mob, the situation is going to be worse. So let us understand the animal. We also understand that human beings can stay away from the animals. Or when we spot it, we can stay indoors. So try and leave it alone, so it will just walk away towards the park or towards its territory and not bother any of us. Cooperate with the local authorities, rescue team or local police, because the rescue team, there is a number that you can call on, which is the control room number of Sanjay Gandhi National Park. I can give it to anyone who's interested. It's available online. There is a website where you have mumbaikars4sgnp.com. So you can go there. The reports of the whole project. There are brochures, posters that you can print and give it to any area where you think this problem could arise. But the rescue team, when they arrive, do not go with them trying to say, oh, I know everything about the leopard. Oh, I know what to do with the leopard. I know how to deal with the animal. No, let them do their job. They are best suited for doing the job in an emergency situation. So just leave it to them. Let us not go in there. How much ever interested wildlife enthusiasts we may be, so am I. Right? But then let them do the job, because it's an emergency situation. Let's not try and bring our knowledge there. Yeah. Drive slowly while traveling through these forest areas like RML Colony and National Park, because there are animals crossing, especially dawn and dusk are times when these animals move around. Try crossing, because that's their territory, right? So there is a rule when you cross national parks, you're supposed to drive at like 20 kilometers per hour. But in Bombay, because Ghodbunder Road is not a park, because RML Colony is not a national park, people drive through crazily. But try and be a little more slow when you drive, because there are these animals which can cross the road and they can be hit. And there have been incidences in RML Colony on Ghodbunder Road where these animals are killed on a roadkill. So our social media presence, we have a website where we have a page for leopards, living with leopards. We have a Facebook page where you can, discuss, talk about your questions and so on and so forth. Most of these are put up so that we can give updates, provide updates about the activities that are happening. So any of you interested to join in, there is a phase 2 which has just started in December. So any of you interested in volunteering can definitely volunteer. a lot of awareness programs are being done through these projects so that the slum areas, any of these vulnerable areas, know about the do's and don'ts of living with leopards. Yeah, so you're most welcome to join in. That's all questions, guys.
Hello. What I wanted to ask is, you spoke about cleanliness in our own area and how that helps as in the leopard attacks and safety of our territory and our own territory. And what I wanted to ask is there enough as in animals or food for leopards in national parks so that they don't come out? Or I have read some news where forest department actually transports the whole bunch of truckload of pigs to the national park so that they feed them. So is that what you mean when you say you should not allow these things so that they don't come out and they stay in the national park? But do they have enough food? So, or is it they don't have food, that's why they come out and find food?
Okay. So two questions that you've asked. One is, do they have enough prey base inside the park? And two is, is that the reason why they're coming outside the park? The first question, yes, they have enough food inside the national park, right? Now, just a little bit on wildlife is that the predators can multiply or breed only so much as they get food base. So it's not like they multiply in advance and then they'll try and search for food, right? So they will multiply only so much so that they can get food. So if the mother has 3 cubs, if it can feed all 3 cubs, then it will go and search for a prey and come and feed the 3 cubs. Otherwise, the female itself will not get into a breeding phase. It will probably not even, have cubs, right? So that cycle is very, very clear that if they don't have enough food base, they will not even breed as much. So national park does have enough prey base. But two, the dogs outside the park are almost like fast food. Okay, and there is enough fast food available there, right? They don't run like deers. They're quiet at night. They sleep at night, which is very convenient for leopards because at night is when they are on prowl, right? So at night they easily go and just pick up a dog and eat. So it needs just 1 dog a week, and we have enough dogs in Bombay. Absolutely enough dogs in Bombay. So because there are dogs around the city, leopards no longer can be called like they've come out from the park. They're actually residing, because as they grow into sub-adults and adults, they start forming their own territory. And leopards have started forming territories outside the park itself. So it's not like they were inside and they've started coming out. Now the territories are being formed outside, right? So there are leopards which have known to be outside and live there itself. They don't go back into the park, or it's not like morning they go into the park and evening they come out. It's not like they're straying out. So I think that's one other point that we need to understand, that wild animals in Bombay now, and it's been there in most urban cities, are not straying outside. They are living outside, right? So you will find a lot of wildlife which is called urban wildlife. And leopards have started becoming an urban wildlife now in Bombay at least. So this urban wildlife always will exist. We don't blame the forest authorities for letting them loose or letting them come out of the park. They've been there because thanks to us.
Are there any other cities that have this kind of a coexistence?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of cities do have leopards. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that almost every city, metro city probably, no, not almost every, Bangalore has, Bombay has, a lot of cities in India has this. The level of tolerance in each city is different, and the the level of I would say the leopard getting closer to the core population is different in different cities. Like in Himachal, it will be different. There are leopards in Himachal as well, right? So it will be different cities. But yes, there is a lot of there are many cities which have leopards and other wildlife in the city itself in India.
So I researched on snow leopards in Himalaya, and I was very funny to find the incidents there, that when I heard from people that we talk about predators or snow leopards as predators being in our area. Are you sure they are the predators or we are the predators in their area?
Great question. Yeah? Great question.
So whenever people, especially from wildlife, come on stage and talk about this, I find it very different, because we are the ones who are in their area, because I think 40% of the national park has been cut because of the roads as well. So I think a lot of people use social media, WhatsApp, Twitter, BlackBerry, BBM. there was a incident about a tiger in Delhi, and the amount of news came over that the tiger was very brutal and hit the person, where the tiger did not do anything for 20 minutes on the. So I think the message that you said for social media is very true. Most of the things that we need to change is within the people, because we are the one who makes the news. I'm a journalist actually.
Great.
So yeah. So how do you think that future will you be able to stop government to increase the public areas so that the national parks are still there? Incidents in Himalaya that they are having, that the Tibetan mastiffs like protecting the area of sheep from the snow leopards, and the snow leopards are dying there, which is a very important thing. So what do you think that local people, I mean, it's a request to everybody who's listening over here, and all of us are educated, that how they should support you in this message through social media? I'm sure most of us cannot come there to help you, but I think, what do you think that they should do?
Yeah, so absolutely great question. So yes, being a wildlife conservationist, I would say people are the ones who are the predators into wild areas or green areas. But having said that, in a city like Bombay, there has to be a very good balance. I'm not saying we need to cut trees. I'm not saying we need to cut down the forests. But the fact that the national park has every national park in a country has wildlife protection laws are existing in a country, but the execution or the implementation of these laws are very poor. And that goes for every field, not just wildlife. For every field, I think India has a great laws, some amazing laws that we have, and if all of them are implemented very well, then I don't think we will lose any of our forests or any of our animals. But unfortunately, the implementation is very bad due to people, due to political pressures. A lot of political willingness is required to do this. So yes, national park, Sanjay Gandhi National Park has been encroached from the periphery. If you look at the map, it's supposed to be 103 square kilometers, but I think now it's probably just about 86 or about 90, close to about 90 is what actually exists. So a lot of it has been encroached. So we as citizens, first and foremost, all of you growing up into making a career and trying to buy houses, do not buy houses near the park, or look at the documents first, because now a lot of builders have started advertising their properties saying next to the forest, yeah, overseeing the forest. So classic example is of the Royal Palms in Goregaon East, that's built right inside the RML colony, and they have enough leopards around that area. Royal Palms, you have the photo that I showed of the leopard stretching on a balcony, that's Royal Palms, right? So it almost has a house there. It almost lives there. But people do buy because there are luxury homes available. So they've been marketed that way because there are luxury homes overlooking the forest, like you get out and you see greenery around you and so on and so forth. But yeah, please understand, if you buy a house there, what are you doing to these animals? Right? It'll be great to come out, but you may not find a leopard eventually because you've already cut and built your own building there. So yes, first and foremost, understand the laws, look at the documents. If you're getting into an area which is a protected area, which is a wildlife area, do not buy a home there. My request to you is do not do that. It's a luxury, yes. I would love to stay inside National Park if I am given a chance, but I wouldn't do that because that's a building where I will be staying. I can't stay in a tent there. So if I am staying there, there is a building there, which means I've already destroyed a lot of forest. And two, yes, social media is a great thing for us to contribute. You don't have to be there physically to do this conservation work. Social media, trying to spread awareness, and like I said, you need to be a more conscious citizen, a conscious reader to a newspaper, a conscious listener to a TV news channel. And then once we start giving a feedback back, I think the editors get to know, because we work with editors on this whole project as well. They are in lack of information. They are in lack of any feedback. And they think it sells only if you sell sensational news, because we are the people who buy them. But if you give a feedback saying we do not buy a newspaper like DNA, a lot of us wrote back to them saying horrible news, absolutely zero homework done. Somebody sent a WhatsApp video and they gave a news on that. I mean, what standing do they have here after that? Right? So the wildlife section of that newspaper is absolutely somebody whom I will not vouch for. So the standing of a particular newspaper or a particular news channel stands so far as we are the audience. So we as audience need to build that news channel, build the newspaper. If we are willing to do that, then let's start doing it right now. So as a journalist, I think you brought up a great point.
I think that's all we have time for. Thank you so much, Vidya. was a great talk. A round of applause for Vidya.